Hi, everybody, and thank you for coming back to Living to Do's review of Bel Air, uh, episode 4 called Canvas. Before we get started, I would like to ask you to like, share, and subscribe and comment below. Also, you can find me on Fanbase under the same name, Living to Do. So let's get started with this review. Um, this episode started off with Uncle Phil and Carlton talking about registering voters for his campaign. Uh, Carlton, always the businessman, is making a deal with his dad that if he gets 50 voters, that he will get a VIP trip to Monaco, I think, to see some race cars or something like that. Later, we see that Will hears about it and he makes a deal with Aunt Viv if they get the voters that he would be allowed to fly out his friend Trey from Philly to visit. And Aunt Viv co signs that deal. And that's great because Trey is his friend from, back home. And I'm sure he's homesick. Though you're living in, the lap of luxury, there's, still things that really mean a lot to you. Um, like a friendship that you had back at home. So I'm really happy for Will. Um, Will goes to school and he's talking to Lisa. As he's talking to Lisa, somebody's looking on. I thought it was the drug dealer because in the last episode, we see that the drug dealer knows that Will is in LA. It's gone viral and it's reached him. And I thought it would be him looking on. Later, we find out it's a security guard. Uh, they Will is it's undercover security, I suppose, because Will doesn't even know that he's being watched. As he's talking to Lisa, tells him that her mother died 3 years ago, and that's something that Will didn't know. And of course, Will hasn't had his father in his life. It's unclear on how long his father has been out of his life. Um, Will later talks to Trey on the phone, and Trey told him that Rashad is knows he's in LA and he's tapped in LA, and I guess if he could, I guess that scares Will. I guess if he could find Will, with all the security and whatnot, I don't know how he could find Will, but that raises eyebrows for Will. He looks concerned, so concerned he wants to talk to Uncle Phil about it, but he runs into Jeffrey. And he tells Jeffrey a little bit. Jeffrey knows everything. He gives out the name Rashad Denton. He knows about this issue. Uh, Jeffrey says that he will handle it. There's no reason to concern your uncle or your aunt. I'll take care of it. But he, I don't think Will understands how Jeffrey will take care of it. Jeffrey is more than, he's not a butler, he's a house manager, but he is the utility man. In fact, if I didn't know better, I would think it's Jeffrey's house and they're just living in it. He just seems very comfortable. I guess he might live on in the house somewhere. It's uncertain. It's unclear where he lives, but uh, he's just very comfortable. Um, Not like an employee at all in that home. Um, so Will and Carlton go out in South LA and they hit the pavement going door to door to try to get registered voters. Um, Carlton doesn't like Will's style. Carlton's not really succeeding being himself, and Will puts on the charm with people, and he's basically lying, um, inviting them to an event that is a paid event, but he's letting people know, if they register to vote, you can come to this paid event. So he's getting a lot more signatures. Meanwhile, Hillary and Ashley are going to companies or businesses to put flyers in the wall, and they go to Jazzy's spot. Jazzy has a store, a record store, and I guess it's his uncle's store, and I guess his uncle died and gave it to Jazz. Jazz just trying to keep it up, um, which is interesting. I don't know how he's out in the street as a. This is what Hillary said. Hillary said she thought he was just an Uber driver who looked like Tupac. He does look Tupac, like Tupac. I think he's handsome. Um, I just don't know how you got time to be an Uber driver and run a record store that you own. But hey, multiple streams of income. Good for Jazz. Um, we see that Jeffrey's talking to this security guy or this guy that was watching Will at school, and the guy, I guess, is security, and they talk about how Rashad Denton is might be a problem. He was paid $10,000. Huh? Nobody knows that. And but he's still becoming a problem. Uh, so the next scene, or shortly thereafter, we see that Ashley, she walked away from Hillary. She went somewhere else, and she's met with a bunch of young kids her age. They're sitting there watching a movie, eating, and this young little boy is starting to put his arm around Ashley, and I mean, that man pops up everywhere. Jeffrey pops up. He sees this and he puts a stop to it. He just calls her by her name and gets her out of there. And apparently, this is a crush that Ashley has by meeting somebody online. Now, these are both supposed to be South LA kids. They don't look like, nobody in there looks like they're from South LA. They look like Valley kids. For actually, Ashley looks more South LA than the kid she's talking to. They could have done a little bit better job with casting that scene. Um, so this event that Uncle Phil is having, a fundraiser event, is at a roller rink. It's a roller skating event that people are coming out, and at first Uncle Phil was upset with Will a little bit for inviting people to this event because it's a paid event, but it was a hit. Everyone came out, they had a good time. Jeffrey invited Ashley's little friends that she met. Um, at the event, Will goes to the restroom. He comes out and he meets with Fred Wilkes. He was the guy from, I think, the first episode. And Fred Wilkes is in his uniform, a police uniform. We learn that Fred Wilkes is the chief of police. Ugh, that gives Will flashbacks. After he leaves the bathroom, he runs into Lisa. Lisa is Fred's daughter, and Will is upset with Lisa for not telling him that her father was a police officer, not to mention the chief of police. I mean, she was trying to say, I don't know what your dad does. And that's when he says he hasn't seen his dad, in years. But he was really salty with her because she didn't even bring that up. That may not be something that in your mind so much, what your parents do for a living. You're just trying to meet somebody and be yourself. Um, at the skating rink, it was really, really cute that Jazzy and Hillary were skating together. They really hit it off. Though he looks a little too short for her, but they're cute together. At the roller skating rink, Uncle Phil, gathers everybody around to talk and ask questions. They talk about that one of the people at the event bring up defunding the police. And it looks like a subject that Uncle Phil doesn't really want to talk about, especially when his friend, or I don't know if he's a real friend, I think he's a friend, um, Fred Wilkes in uniform is there. And, that's not something that Fred wants to hear. But Uncle Phil assures the people that the DA shouldn't be working for the police, they should be working for the people. That was a hit with the people that were there. They're all clapping in support of Uncle Phil. So this is going to be some type of storyline with Fred Wilkes and Uncle Phil with defunding the police and maybe some dealings that um, Uncle Phil had maybe bad dealings, things he shouldn't have been doing. Uh, I see this boiling up, so it's going to be interesting how how Fred Wilkes is going to play in this storyline. After they get home and they are celebrating, they're really happy for the outcome of the event. Everyone's kind of excited. Will put on this, well, he didn't put on the event, but he seems to have made it a success for his uncle. So he's in their good graces. And Aunt Viv has told him that he can invite his friend to come to LA and visit with him. So he calls his friend Will, or sorry, his friend Trey, and he's excited. He's to tell him, you're coming out. We're going to fly you out. And of course, Trey's excited. He's probably never left Philly, too. And he says he has something to tell him. He told him that Rashad is dead. He was shot in the strip club. And Trey's excited. He goes, that puts them in the clear. But the look on Will's face, he's not happy about this. He thinks that, I think he's thinking that, did Jeffrey have something to do with it? Did he handle this? Uh, so it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. What will find out about this situation? Um, this show is really good. I like it. I like the spin. It's good, and I'm excited for the next episode. So that's it for now. I'll come back with episode 5. But again, I would like to ask you again if you would like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. And also, you can find me on Fanbase, the new app that is out. Go and check that out. It's a very new and exciting app. And I'm there in Fanbase under the same name, Living to Do. And with that, I got to go because I got living to do. Thank you so much.